Hello, Internet, and welcome to this week's edition of 1 Minute News from 1 Minute Economics, the show through which I analyze the most important events of the week from the perspective of an economist. And for this week, I've chosen two topics. Number one, the decision of the United States to leave the Paris Accord, and number two, the elections that are taking place in the United Kingdom as we speak. Let's start by trying to see things when it comes to the Paris Accord from the perspective of the United States. And I think we can establish two basic premises. One, we humans are polluting the planet more so than in the past through things like excessive carbon dioxide emissions. And two, certain countries are polluting more than others, with the United States being on position number 2 on the worldwide list of polluters. Now, if I were to ask 100 Americans if they want less pollution, I'm pretty sure they would say, of course. However, problems start appearing once we discuss the costs, because having a cleaner planet is going to cost money. And for example, one, your electricity bill might go up in the absence of developments which make green energy cheaper. Two, certain jobs might be lost across various sectors of the US economy. And for these reasons and others, two sides end up being formed. On the one hand, we have people who say, of course, there are going to be costs involved, but we have to pay them. We owe it to ourselves and our children. And on the other hand, you have people who say, no, I'm not willing to risk losing my job. I'm not willing to pay more for electricity. And I want our administration to put America first. Now, enough people see things this way for us to find ourselves in our current situation, with the US deciding to leave the Paris Accord. Now, this is a political decision which will have political but also economic consequences. And I, for one, see three main scenarios. One, the United States leaves, but the other countries remain and don't do anything else, which would be the best case scenario for the US because it would have a competitive edge. Two, some countries leave, some countries stay, so, it's going to be a mixed response. And three, pretty much everyone stays, but to punish the United States for leaving, they will end up marginalizing the US, either politically or economically, perhaps both. As time passes, I guess it just remains to be seen what's going to happen. The second topic for today is the fact that, of course, snap elections are taking place in the United Kingdom as we speak. Now, based on the current polls, it becomes pretty obvious that one, the Conservatives led by Theresa May are enjoying a comfortable lead, but two, the lead in question has narrowed during the campaign. Still, we can draw the line and assume that Theresa May is probably going to remain the Prime Minister of the UK, and even more so that the Conservatives will end up with a more robust majority than the 17-seat one they currently have. Now, if you don't live in the UK, you might be wondering why you should care, but in my opinion, you should, because all roads lead not to Rome this time, but to the Brexit. And I'm going to link to my animation about the effects of the Brexit and what happens next. And to make a long story short, there are basically two extremes when it comes to Brexit scenarios. On the one hand, we have the so-called hard Brexit, which revolves around the fact that a deal will not be reached, and as such, the UK will pack its bags, leave, and revert to the rules of the World Trade Organization when it comes to its relationship with EU countries. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have what can be considered a soft Brexit, or in other words, sure, the UK will leave the European Union, but under certain circumstances, the terms can be so lenient that it would be as if it isn't leaving at all. So reality will probably lie somewhere in between these two extremes, and given the fact that UK voters seem to be renewing their confidence in Theresa May, I think the negotiations are going to be very rough, and that a hard or harder Brexit becomes likely because, one, Theresa May will go to the negotiation table with her renewed mandate and try, of course, to negotiate from a position of strength. And two, EU leaders will obviously want to negotiate from a position of strength as well, and as such, I believe that the likelihood of the negotiations being tough and even the likelihood of no deal being reached is higher than it was before. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in to yet another edition of 1 Minute News from 1 Minute Economics. And as usual, please like my videos, share them with others, comment, be active in the community, and of course, subscribe to 1 Minute Economics if you haven't by now. Also, those of you who want to support the channel by buying my book, by making a donation through PayPal, Bitcoin, Patreon, and so on, can head on over to 1minuteeconomics.com where you can find more info on how to do that. Thanks a lot, guys, and have an awesome week.